final level. Why is it called the well? We're not climbing down a well.
Underneath the well
we're not
is like
finding the ring girl.
underneath the well is like my least favorite dungeon. Ugh, I hate that place.
It's barely even a dungeon.
Yeah, but it's awful.
Because the well is hell. They're drawing energy from it, like water from a bucket, in a bucket rather.
It's symbol.
well of
They have just a
souls
random
is-
Doom Guy statue down here. Okay, cool.
A well of souls or spirits is a pretty common trope in fantasy fiction. I know that's basically the beginning of Kingdoms of Amalur, so that's
Or
what
maybe
I
they
think
just
of
maybe it's
first.
a typo and they meant to say the hell, but they put a W instead.
So why is this specific part of hell called the hell then, John? Are the rest of the areas
hellier
not
than the
hellier
The other
enough?
place was like, we were in hell, but this is the hell.
Wow, okay. So when you're saying what the hell to a demon, they're saying like, what, you're talking about this place? It's not that special.
Yeah. Yeah.
Too many tourists.
Well, tourist, and he's always killing us.
That's why they don't allow them anymore.
Yeah. The hell?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the name of the place.
So anyway, welcome to orientation. Your first day of hell is going to be getting used to the incredible amount of torture you're going to be suffering. Wake up time is at 5 a.m. sharp.
No, 4:59 a.m.
We need to measure you for pineapple purposes, and
Is that a Little Nicky reference?
yeah.
Do I want to know why they need a pineapple in hell, or?
To shove up Hitler's ass.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was a recurring joke. Hitler's punishment in hell was to have a pineapple shoved up his ass once daily. Also, he had to wear a maid dress. It was very
That's-
strange.
I guess that didn't go by the ironic punishment version of hell then. Which, I mean, to be fair, this doesn't either, but whatever.
Little Nicky was sort of like hell as portrayed on the cover of a metal album.
Oh.
So
Oh, so kind of like Doom then, I guess.
Kind of, but not.
I
quite.
don't recall Hitler getting pineapple shoved up his ass, though.
Maybe pineapple is hell for Doom Guy.
Maybe that was a really weird Metallica album.
also, I think the pineapple thing was a visual pun on grenades. So,
Oh, okay.
I mean, potentially. It's been a long time since I've seen that movie.
well, they call those kind of grenades pineapples. So,
Fun fact, English is the only language that calls pineapples pineapples. Literally every other language calls them ananas. But nope, we have to call them pineapples because we're a special language.
I always found that name for pineapples confusing though. They don't come from pine trees. They're not apples.
Again, English is dumb. Is the moral of the story.
And yet we force everyone else to speak it.
Yeah, because we're better than everyone else.
It's been years since I've watched Little Nicky. Was that before or after Adam Sandler movies started getting really repetitive?
I
That
think it
was around the
I think
time.
that was right before Big Daddy.
No, it was after Big Daddy.
Oh, it was.
Is
I'm
that
pretty sure it was after Big
before
Daddy.
or after?
Big Daddy's the one that made Adam Sandler popular.
Um,
Well, I would say Happy Gilmore did that.
yeah, because I've heard of Happy Gilmore way more than I have of Big Daddy.
Yeah, I think like the good ones are Happy Gilmore. I think Waterboy is one of the notable ones at least.
Yeah. Waterboy hasn't aged as well, in my opinion. But I think it's a solid film. It's for good junk food comedy.
Yeah.
It's just sort of like after a while, Adam Sandler movies started to get really played out.
Yeah.
Then it stopped, it stopped being kind of
Big
funny because
Daddy,
it kind of grew out of it.
Big Daddy was one of those I found interesting because when I was a teenager, I loved that film to death as well. Because because I always needed an Adam Sandler fix. But then I grew up and I realized, he totally kidnapped that kid.
Yeah. and it also has a Jon Stewart pre-Daily Show,
Yeah.
which is weird.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like there's anything inherently bad about the way Adam Sandler movies do things. It's more like they never found another way to do things.
Comedy movies
It's-
live or die on the quality of their jokes. Is the thing. If the
Because Adam Sandler. I mean, I I love the dude personally, but he is definitely a case of resting on his laurels. Like when it comes to like his comedy films.
More or less, yeah.
You're just gonna fire off a random BFG shot. And
Just
hope
in
it kills
case
something.
they're
I
demons.
killed 5 things with it.
That counts as a secret. That was a secret.
Yes, because I had to find a switch to open the door.
Okay.
So it's weird. Some of the secrets in this game are really, really obvious. It's just like, okay, you turn a corner and there's the thing. And it's like, okay, I would have found that normally. And then some of them are stupid cryptic.
It's just one of those.
I mean, to be fair, that's
you wanna
also
fill
the
a
thing.
quota.
That's a thing about almost every game, though. Is the thing?
Yeah.
Is that?
Well, it's more that it stands out here more because the secrets are a thing that the game highlights on a counter.
Yeah.
So you get stuff like Legacy of Kain, Blood Omen 1 does the same thing, where there's 100 secrets in the game, which sounds impressive until you realize that 25 of the fucking things are just floor switches in the same location, and you get a new secret every time you walk further down this one stretch of puzzle hallway. I say puzzle hallway, it's more like a dark room where you have to walk down a certain path or get teleported back to the start.
They must have really wanted 100 secrets exactly in that game. For that
Yeah.
box.
Yeah.
For that box art.
It's
quote.
to be fair, it is in a location that is a huge secret. There's this one like full-size dungeon that you can only access on the full moon from a certain location. There's no way to really know this without either experimenting a lot or looking up a guide. But that dungeon contains 25 of the 100 secrets, and most of them are stuff that you'll just get by progressing through.
Oh, that reminds me of the demon, not the, the fiend secrets in Shin Megami Tensei 1 and 4, where it's like, in Shin Megami Tensei 1, there's like a 1 in 256 chance to spawn a super secret boss, which are the fiends that would later be used in Shin Megami Tensei 3 Nocturne, which if you've played that game, you recognize those assholes. And
Yeah.
it's like these super secret bosses that drop really good weapons, but it's just like, it's a 120, it's like a 256 chance, I think, during a certain moon phase too, actually. So it's like, okay, you're never going to find these things. And then they call back to that in 4, where it's a similar chance, except you just have to walk in and out of the same room every time, and you would never know that they were there anyway, and it's annoying and stupid, and it makes 100% in that game awful, and I've never done it because of those specific bosses. So yeah. I don't know why they put stuff, I don't know why you would want to put content into a game that you have to code and work on that your players would never see. Like, I mean, there's a difference between something that people have to look for or something that they literally would never see. Like, again, a 100 and like a 1 in 255 chance or whatever.
Well, if it's a random super boss like Final Fantasy's Omega, it's it's kind of cool because it's a curveball the game might throw at you on replays. But if there's something important tied to it, it's a bit more questionable.
I personally love the air of mystery to it. Like, there was something always so... there was something I always got so giddy about when it comes to, like, those ridiculously rare encounters. And if we're using RPGs as an example.
Yeah, but there's a
you know-
difference between something that's rare and mysterious and something that you would literally not know would exist. Unless if you looked it up in a strategy guide,
Well,
Yeah, as long as it's not, to me, as long as it's not integral to like a side quest or story progression, I don't care.
Yeah, that was the thing about Omega in Final Fantasy 1 is there was a specific bridge, and while you were on that bridge, there was a very small chance of running into a super boss as a random encounter.
Oh, you're talking about Warmech.
Warmech?
Yeah, Warmech in Final Fantasy 1? Yeah, on the bridge of Tiamat. It was a 1 in 64 chance encounter.
Oh, is it called Warmech? I thought it was called
Yeah, it's
Omega.
called War. I mean, I don't blame you for calling it Omega. It might as well be a precursor, but it's called Warmech.
Warmech, right.
Yeah.
Omega would be
That's Final Fantasy 5.
Right.
Yeah.
I guess why I'm so salty about it is, again, in Shin Megami Tensei 4's case, if you want all 100% the game, you need to beat every demon in the game, which includes those guys.
Because they have basically a Pokédex mechanic.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
That's...
Well, see, in that case, then I
and
agree
not to
that it's
mention, I only
obnoxious.
managed to encounter one, and then I died. So that means that I had to do the whole grinding thing to encounter it all over again. And that's when I said, okay, I'll just get the neutral ending now and be happy with that.
Yeah, that's a thing that would definitely grate on you. If you're gonna implement that kind of hard to find secret, it needs to, like, its importance needs to be scaled back to the likelihood of it appearing.
Yeah.
You know.
SMG4 is
mean-
still a great game, but don't 100% it.
I mean, I don't necessarily subscribe to the notion that anything that time and money is put into should be something that most players are going to see, because I really dig stuff like Vampire the Masquerade, where there's a lot of stuff that straight up will not appear in every playthrough. Like, there's an entire new dialogue system for one of the races who's batshit insane, and your dialogue choices all reflect that if you play as them. So.
Yeah, secrets I think are important in games too, because it adds to that sense of discovery when you do go out of your way to look for stuff as well. It's just a matter of if the game, I think you guys are right, it's a matter of how much the game makes you feel like you need to find everything is when the stuff that gets stupid cryptic really is.
That's a thing.
Yeah.
I mean, the secrets in Doom are mostly just collectibles.
Yeah.
So
I mean, most of them are pretty easy to find anyway, because most of the collectibles are just on the map anyhow. Or at least once you upgrade the thing correctly. Ooh, scary.
The sun. Go, Keyblade.
So do they explain why you have to do this, or do you just have to...
You have to go here to shut down the well feeding.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. So this is required to... Oh, they probably just explain it in the lore thing or whatever. Okay.
No, Sam talks about it.
Oh, okay.
Mind you, as Doom guy, you don't really care, but...
You have to seal the keyhole.
I do find the lore interesting. Like, UIC's a fucked up place to work, but it's certainly compelling story stuff, you know? Like, I actually enjoy reading all of the dialogue and things like that. It's just, you know, not fun for a commentary to stare at lore entries all day.
But if only we could talk to the demons.
If we could talk to the demons, then we'd be able...
I'm sorry, that was a joke without context at this point. There was a particularly cringeworthy negative review of Doom 2016 around when it came out, where someone was, like, basically deriding it for being mindless violence. I'm like, it's Doom.
What do you...
for fuck's
Yeah, I was
sake.
gonna say, what do you expect?
You have to
But,
judge
you know-
a game based off of what it's trying to do. Is
Yeah,
the
but
thing.
the other thing that I had a problem with, just the spirit of that review, is that if it's mindless violence, it's automatically a bad video game. I'm sorry, no. Objectively, no.
90% of video games are mindless violence, which, granted, is a problem with the medium, but...
I'm not necessarily saying, like, I don't want to necessarily say it's either a good or a bad thing. My problem with that kind of reviewer's mindset is, you're kind of trying to dictate what the medium should be. I don't necessarily think that all games need to be morally high grounds or convoluted, complex choice machines. You know, where
Speaking of high ground, we appear to be in Mustafar.
I mean, I can understand where the sentiment comes from, because I do think that we do need more games like that, because there are a lot of mindless violence games out there. But then again, like you said, this is Doom, and this is not where you go to look for that kind of thing.
I think that there's a variety is what we need. As an industry, games need variety.
Yes.
And, you know, as players, we need a variety of experiences in our games to keep the act of playing video games fresh and interesting. The problem with pushing variety in games is that a lot of people seem to think pushing variety in games means pushing old variety out. Whereas I think of it more as adding to that old variety. So I don't necessarily think there should be less mindless violence games, for want of a better term. I just think there should be more other things to go along with those things.
Yeah, that's
You know?
a better way to put it. Like, I don't think it's kind of like, oh, nobody's saying we need less superhero movies, for example, because that's not ever happening anytime soon. But
Well-
more other types of movies would be good.
Yeah, you know, like I think the problem is less that there's so many superhero movies, and more that there's so many other movie creators trying to ape the success of those things. You know, That kind of mentality. It's in gaming terms that translates to having way too many first-person shooters and way too few platformers. You know,
Unless you're
John-
Nintendo.
well, unless you're Nintendo, yeah. Nintendo's never giving up their platformers. But the point is, like, you know, in gaming terms, it also translates, ironically, to having way too many first-person shooters that are trying to be Call of Duty, and way too few first-person shooters that were trying to appeal to the same crowd Doom is. So it's strange how that stuff falls together sometimes.
Because, it's weird, because it takes a while for something to become a trend in a game industry. Like, for example, you get let's say Doom 2016 is a game that's going to change the way developers think about making first-person shooters. We're not going to see games influenced by Doom until, like, actually 2018 is the earliest, because many AAA games have a 2-year development cycle.
2 to 3 years, yeah.
Yeah. So it takes a while before that bandwagon effect really kicks in, because then sometimes...
Meanwhile, in the past, Sonic came along and suddenly there were 50 different edgy animals with platformers.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, well, games took like a handful of months to make back then, so it could happen a lot with a much quicker turnaround.
So in a way, Doom is almost on the same spot it was when the early 90s, where we had a shitload of Doom clones.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
But now we have modern Doom clones.
Well, we don't have any yet, I would say, but it's
here's
gonna
the thing.
happen, I think.
I'd ask you guys, do you think that actually happened? Because we're talking about trend setting. What trend would you think Doom 2016 would invoke that hasn't already been done earlier?
I'd say it's more...
Bioshock.
It's more of a return to...
Yeah, I mean, the major appeal of Doom is that it's I would say the first really breakout success in a long time of a style of first-person shooter that caters to the classic sensibilities. It's kind of like, okay, suppose the entire platformer genre had at one point shifted so that everyone was ripping off Prince of Persia instead of Mario. And then suddenly Mario made a grand return with Odyssey, so now suddenly everyone is doing the ukulele thing. It would be that kind of trend.
Yeah, like, here's the thing. I was just kind of guessing. I don't know if games are going to start trying to aim... Like, I don't think it'd be, as big of... Like, you'd see straight-up rip-offs, because it's not like there's a lot of mechanics in Doom to rip off. I would say just in general, like, faster-paced, less covery...
More single-player focused.
More single-player focused.
Less cover focus, more brutal, more focus on melee and projectile dodging than hit scan. And, just generally more complex level design.
Yeah.
A gamier shooter than we're used to in the Call of Duty era, in other words.
A video game.
Also, more emphasis on single player, which is... I can't believe I have to... I have to acknowledge this, but we kind of forgot how to make single-player shooters at some point.
Well, to be fair, we have been seeing that a little bit more with also Wolfenstein, but it's hard to call. But that's the same company, though, is also the thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same company. Shadow Warrior being another example. Yeah, I brought that up multiple times in this playthrough, but.
Did you ever play the classic Shadow Warrior, which was also very similar to Doom?
Similar to Duke Nukem 3D, actually.
Oh, okay. It's Duke.
Same company as Duke Nukem 3D, and basically same concept, just with a different character.
Okay. And Duke Nukem 3D let you aim up and down, too, right? Like, that wasn't hit scan like Doom was.
I haven't touched Duke Nukem 3D since it was on the PlayStation, so...
So about 20 years ago.
Yeah, something like that.
Oof.
I only know the ending because frickin' GamePro or something gave it away in their guide.
Yes, because the Duke Nukem lore is why we all play Duke Nukem.
Well, it was kind of a thing that the guides and game magazines did, was that they actually gave you a humorous, truncated version of the ending that you would get. which was good for kids like me who probably wouldn't be experiencing all the games that they were reading about. So we could sort of vicariously experience these games by reading their guides. That's how I got what I got of Parasite Eve 2 back in the day, was I read that guide. You
I
know?
simultaneously miss and don't miss the era of video game magazines. Because there's no reason for them to exist anymore, but it was magical.